So as the channel has been growing, I've been upgrading my gear as well. In my search for a perfect side grip, I figured I'd make this video to help some of you out as well. I bought everything with my own money, so I can really provide my unfiltered opinion. We will be looking at the Kondor Blue Trigger Wing, the 8-sin wooden grip, the 8-sin NATO side handle, the Smallrig mini side handle code 2916, and finally the Falcam F22 side grip, code 2565. Use the timeline to skip to the one you're interested in, or just follow along my journey. So the first purchase I made were these two, the Smallrig side handles. And they did the job. They are pretty cheap too, at like 25 euros per piece. But after filming like 20 minutes, you can feel the connection piece in between the cage and the grip, sort of like pushing into your hand. And it's not comfortable. What's good about these is that you can lower this piece, making it a good all-rounder for most cages. And you can even make them flush with the cage, so that it can still stand up on the camera base. It has two 1/4 inch screws which you can easily remove from the cage if you tighten them by hand. But keep in mind though, they will be wiggling around a little bit if you do it by hand, since they really need that extra tightening to fit well. You can do that by grabbing the conveniently placed Allen wrench and putting them through the circles. As far as grip goes, these are not bad, since they have this fake leather material in there as well. On top it has 3 1/4 inch screws for accessories, and the grip is made for left and right. So there is no specific version. All in all, I quickly realized that the connection is a problem for me, since my hand cannot fit around it when there's this piece blocking it. So my search continued. I eventually saw this grip from Falcam, which is thicker, so I figured that the connection piece would be less of a problem for me. Being familiar with their quick release system, this looked great. At like 90 euros, these were definitely more expensive though. But the grip is absolutely awesome. It's much grippier and it feels like a woodish material, but it's not. So sweaty hands won't be an issue for these. And with its shape, it feels natural to hold too. It comes with the quick release piece, which you can screw on the cage of your choice or use their own case which has these pieces built in. On top, there is this quick release system too for accessories. Thus, it's very easy to just slide this thing off the cage and throw it on a gimbal, for example. I noticed that you have to hold the release button until it's off or on, so it doesn't click as satisfying all of the time. So sometimes I double check to make sure it's on there securely. The grips are made for left and right, so there is no specific version. Sadly for me, the connection piece was still an issue and not as comfortable as I would have liked because of it. Then, being at the price point of like 90 euros already, 8-sin was not that far away at 100 euros. The NATO side handle looked like a pistol grip and very comfortable. The name already gives it away, but it's a NATO grip. So you have to have a NATO piece connected to the cage as well, which Smallrig sells for like 15 euros. The number for that piece is 1409. 8-sin sells these too, but they're not as available in my country. I think as far as the shape goes, these are the most comfortable grips I've had. But I've noticed quickly that because of the connection, which is permanently at the bottom, the weight distribution is a little off. If the connection was at the top, this one would have been near perfect. These are non-specific too, so it's either left or right. It has a cold shoe connection at the top, 5 1/4 inch mounts, and 1 3/8. There is no wiggle with the connections, so that's always good. But the material feels really sweaty, and I noticed that after filming for like half an hour, my grip got less and less because of these sweaty hands. Comparable to a standard PS4 or Xbox controller, if that makes sense. So I finally decided not to go with this one either. Being at the price point already of like 100 euros, the Kondor Blue Trigger Wing was slightly above that at 125, which is very expensive if you think about it. But you keep increasing your budget for these types of things, so keep that in mind and stay objective about it. For these, you will need a Rosette RE mounting plate. For Smallrig, the number is 2804. That piece alone cost like 25 euros. I thought, well, it has to do more than just be a grip for me. And this thing does more than that. It also has a record button on the handle, but placed at the back where you hold it, which for me is oddly placed, since I got my thumb doing nothing anyway. I would have preferred it on this side. But now you can really hold it firmly without touching any buttons. So it's really whatever you prefer here. The rubber grip is very good, but I had to get used to it, because at first it feels kind of weird in comparison with the Nato Grip from 8sin. Keep in mind though, that if you want to use the record button, you will need a connection cable. And in my country, these will cost like 40 euros extra on top of the already expensive grip. You can change the direction of the rosette on the side, so it's once again available for left and right. On top, there is another spot for an RE connection, and on the front a cold shoe mount. But then, being as indecisive as I am, I figured I'd try out another rosette handle. At a steep price of 180 euros, I had high hopes for this thing, and the grip is indeed awesome. My hand fits perfectly around it, and with the extension I can push my hand against it and really have a firm grip. It's made from wood entirely, except for this little turn thing inside of the grip, which is used for securing it. My thoughts about this thing are as follows. The grip is excellent. The wood material can be a little slippery since it's really sanded down nicely, but that also makes it feel like a premium product. It feels really light, and a little too light for me, and that makes it feel quite the opposite as a cheaply made thing. It's also pretty small. On the pictures it looks much bigger. You won't have any issues with the mounting of this thing, since your hand wraps around it completely. But having this thing screwed on tightly can be an issue, since it's not really easy to stick your fingers in there and still twist until it's secure. You will also have to buy two if you want to switch things up, since it's specifically made for left or right hands, so not interchangeable. Now I think for these grips, with the original design and even the machining that this would require, the price might be justified for them, but I still think it's insanely expensive for what it is. And comparing it to the Kondor one, I think that one is much better. But some might prefer the lightweight wood grips, and I totally get that.